Hi guys, welcome to episode 23 of Aeroland. So in this episode I'm going to put the railroad tracks in place and I'm going to extend the pathway towards where the village will end up. I'm not going to build the village or start the village, but just the layout of the area, how I wanted to have it, to make sure that's in the right place. After that I'm going to add some more scenery towards the beginning of the western area, mostly a building with some food and drink and toilets and stuff like that. Yeah, just fill it up a little bit more at the beginning. So first I wanted to build a bridge here, and I had a little bit of a hard time to put the pathway in place. Not really with this bridge, but mostly part after this bridge, because I wanted the pathway to go around the corner and go down over here, but I just couldn't get the pathway the way I wanted it to, and it took me quite some time and it was very annoying, and I really hope they will eventually make a no collision for pathways, because sometimes I can be really annoyed by this. Patch 1.3 got released, I think it was yesterday by the time I have uploaded this video, and in patch 1.3 it's very nice. You can choose your own biomes. You can make custom biomes in patch 1.3, and they didn't announce this feature. The reason I used these separate rocks on this ride was because I was missing terrain textures. So I put quite a lot of time in this because I did not have my terrain textures. By the time I am finished, I'm nearly finished, the patch dropped. I literally recorded this episode the morning before the patch got released. But yeah, stuff happens. It's not the first time with this ride. The last thing that happened was the terrain collision, but I managed to survive. I'm very happy that they released custom biomes, and I will add some of the western biomes in the live part and check them out around this area. Anyway, back on the video. So I'm going to start off by filling the other side of this big drop of the ride with rocks, because I have not really worked on that yet. So when that's in place, I'm going to edit the terrain around the train tracks you see in the background and fill up the area between the ride and the train tracks as much as I can. And yeah, let me fast forward a little bit for you guys. So the ridge is finished, and I want to start off with the entrance to the tunnel the train tracks is going to make through the mountain. And at first I wanted to use like big stone blocks which support like the archway of the tunnel, but I couldn't really find old western tunnels on the internet and how they've built them, so I decided to do something different. You can see me looking for a nice archway for the tunnel and something with big stones and stuff, but it would make more sense to me if they made like a wooden entrance, just like a mine train or something like that. So after some searching I decided to make the entrance out of wood. So this is where I'm replacing the frame with the wooden frame, and it just suits the style a little bit more in my opinion. I decided to make the area a little bit open, so it doesn't feel as spacious as the ride does, for example. So I wanted to have like a big open area, and I didn't want to make the entrance feel like too cramped, so I decided to try and keep it as flat against the mountain as I could. I was able to realize the look I was going for. I'm glad I did not make this whole tunnel on the inside the way I wanted it to yet, because now I have the terrain textures, and that's something which saves me a lot of time if I just use the terrain textures on the inside of the tunnel. So the entrance of the tunnel is finished, and before finishing up the area around the train tracks, I wanted to place two buildings over here next to the entrance of the ride, which provide the guests with some drinks and some food. I decided to start off with expanding the area, the flat area I have, to create the buildings. And I wanted to have like a building where people could walk inside, like a saloon with big doors, and people walk inside and they can order something inside. And that means I had to build the shop on the inside of a building, and I would need a rather large building. So I decided to make the building you see here with not a square shape, but I made a small corner inside it. At first I was like, this way I can fit 4 shops inside, but people will queue up for the shops as well. So if I would have placed 4 shops inside, it would cause it to be really crowded in there, and that would be a little bit annoying to look at. So I decided to only make 2 shops on the inside and make a second building next to it with a toilets and a first aid center. This way people don't use the front of the building to enter the toilets, and they can walk through the restaurant, it's very small, to get to the toilets. I closed off the inside, the corner on the left and the right. So it's just a small hallway with these shops, but you can't really see this from the outside. But if you take a look inside, then you will see that it's very small, and I think I will make a nice big saloon over at the village I'm going to build later, and keep this just as a pit stop kind of thing, something you just walk by and just quickly grab something to eat or to drink, and then you can walk on. So I wanted to make this custom roof because the other roof sticked out to the sides of the building, and these planks I could just make them a little bit shorter, as you can see, and it just looked a lot better. And now it's time to add some roofing to the building. I didn't want a roof without variation, so I decided to use these different angles and stuff, and it looks pretty nice. I'm glad I did it. And here I'm adding a little bit of a framework on the top side of the building to finish it off a little bit. So you can see the textures of the ceiling I used glitching through the wall, and I wanted to make like something like a wooden framework which was able to hide those glitching textures. And I'm glad I did, because it adds something nice to the building. I don't know, it just makes it look a little bit better, even though it wasn't really the reason I placed these beams in the first place. And inside there's a Chief Beef and a Gulpy soda, I think. And Chief Beef has this nice wooden sign, but Gulpy doesn't have any wooden signs. The only shops with wooden signs are Chief Beef and Cosmic Cow, I think. So I wasn't really sure what signs to use. And I might replace the Gulpy with a Cosmic Cow, because I'm not really happy with this Gulpy logo. But I might keep it like this anyway, because it's still a theme park, you know. And over here I wanted to add something like an arrow to show where the toilets and the first aid center are. So I wanted to have these signs on the arrow. As you could see a little moment ago, at first I placed this arrow which kind of bent around these signs, and I actually think I like that more, so I might replace this arrow later with the other one. And I was just looking for a custom sign over here, so I could spell Saloon on the front of the building. I still have not added any windows and stuff to this building, but the general layout of the building is finished, and I wanted to fence this off a little bit so you could see from the outside. You had to use the saloon to walk through the toilets, just adding a few more cacti and bushes and stuff around the saloon, and it looks a lot better already. That gives a little bit more feeling to the entrance of this area. Over here I'm just planning out the surface between the ride and the tracks, and I'm going to build the details between the track and the ride. And as you can see, the area is pretty much very flat, and I did this on purpose, so when you're riding the train you have this like immersive feeling that you're really going through the desert to big open spaces and stuff like that. So I kept it pretty spacious on purpose over here. Eventually I want the train ride to feel more like something fun to ride instead of something just to take you from point A to point B. And over here I'm just adding a few cliffs and rocks alongside the track, because I wanted to keep it a little bit open, but it shouldn't be completely flat either, so just adding a few rocks in between. I'm very happy that I can just choose different textures for the terrain now, so I have not done it in this video yet. I think I might add it to the live part of this video, just to quickly go over how it works. So over here I'm raising the terrain below the train tracks a little bit. So it was hovering just a few centimeters above, and I imagined creating this small hump on which the train tracks go to make it look a little bit more real. And here I'm just adding terrain beneath the railroad tracks, a different color to make it look a little bit better. And then it's time to just quickly finish this second house over here, and that's about the last thing I'm going to finish up in this episode. Just adding some more details to these houses, and that's about it, I think. This house was fairly simple, but pretty easy to make, and to stay true to the Western theme, I just thought I would make this like a gun store. And at first I wanted to make a balcony, but then I realized that the back of the building was not high enough to realistically make a balcony over there, so I decided to just make a awning type of thing. Just adding a few of these American flag-like things around the place to give it a real Western feel. And I don't know if you guys have seen, but in update 1.3 they added more American themed buildings and stuff. I think because of 4th of July, but I'm not sure. Decided to replace all the paths with natural paths, but I couldn't change the texture on this one pathway, and I'm not really sure what it said. It had something to do with an uneven terrain or something, I'm not sure. And I decided to, instead of using the paths themselves as bridges, because the textures of those paths are like locked in one direction, so if you use the textures they will all be in one direction, and I don't know, it kind of looks weird sometimes. So I decided to make the planks myself by placing these walkway boards things on the floor, and it turned out looking pretty decent. I'm not really sure if I'm happy with it, but it's better than the pathway textures, to be fair, in my opinion. And I'm going to repeat the same thing on this bridge, which turned out better because it's a straight bridge and not one with a bend in the middle. Using the terrain brush to create sandy-like terrain for people to walk on, and the whole feeling of the area is now very different than how it was with only the rocks, and it really starts to become kind of a western area. Just adding a few more details over here to the back side of this house, and a small pipe to make sure the water from the water tower is able to go inside the saloon. And I don't know, it just made some sense. Anyways, that was it for this time lapse. Let's quickly go to the live part. Hi guys, welcome to the live part. In this live part I quickly want to go over update 1.3 which got released, and in this update you can create custom biomes, which is very helpful for the project I'm currently working on. In the patch note it said you had to hold left control and press resume while holding the button to open up this custom environment box, and as you can see there are 8 different textures that you can choose. Steep 1, Steep 2 are the textures that are assigned to when you raise the terrain, they suddenly go over into a different texture, and those are these 2 terrains. Ground 1 and Ground 2 are the basic terrains that are laid down over the whole map, and the details are just small additions to these 2 textures. And I'm not using the grassland, the dry grass as much, so I'm going to swap the detail 2 out for something else. And you will get this box which has for every environment they have these 8 categories. So it starts off with the Alpine, and that's Steep 1, Steep 2, Ground 1, Ground 2, Detail 1, Detail 2, Detail 3, Detail 4. And then it switches to Arctic, Steep 1, Steep 2, Ground 1, Ground 2, Detail 1, 2, 3, 4. And it repeats this for every environment. And as you can see, these are the desert ones, and the one I really need is, I think I'm going for this one. That's the Ground 2 of the desert. This is the same ground type that's laid out all over the desert map when you create a new sandbox. So I'm going to replace that one with this one, and I'm going to replace the detail. Now I'm not really sure if there's anything else I'm using at the moment, so I'm keeping it with this one. I might switch out detail 3 for the cliffs. So here we are. Let's quickly try out these new terrain textures. Here it is, the desert rocky sand. I'll put the intensity to 100 and the size to, that's very big, to 13. I'm just going to color this whole area for a bit just to see how it looks. And I'm very happy that they've implemented this new feature in this update, because it just gives you a lot more opportunities when you're, and possibilities when you're creating a new map. So I've colored the whole terrain orange, and this might be a little bit too much, so I'm going to use like a little bit of dirt to lessen the orangey stuff when you're further away from the rocks, because over here there's more dirt than there's orange stuff. Maybe a little bit like so. And as you can see, it really gives a difference to how this whole area feels. It just suits the orange rocks a little bit better. And this is just something I quickly did now, and I will do it more precisely later, but this is just an example, and I'm very happy that Frontier put this update in the game, because it's going to look so much better with this. So time to quickly go over the houses I've built. These are the two houses, a saloon and a gun store. The gun store, in my opinion, is a little bit empty here. I saw there are big revolvers in the scene with that. I might use those, but I'm not really sure if they fit the theme very well. Something like this, but I'm not really sure about this. So if you guys have any ideas or opinions about this, then please tell me. It kind of looks cool, but it kind of looks weird as well, so I'm not really sure about this. The saloon itself turned out pretty nice. I wanted posters in the front and some banners. When we go inside, you will see that the toilet and the medic booth are around the corner. Here you can get some food, here you can get a drink, and you can go through the house, and over here there's the toilets and the medic booth. And I really like this idea that from the front you can't enter this house, but you can. I used this space to create toilets, and it just ended up looking very good. For the pathway, I've replaced everything with a natural path, and I might replace this with some other terrain as well, like something like so. It just looks a little bit better with the orange. Not really sure. We will see what I'm going to do with that. I'm not sure. Anyways, I made these custom wooden bridges. For now I've left these railings away, and I'm going to build custom railings as well. It just looks a little bit better than the textures of these wooden pathways. Because if you have corners, then as you can see, the textures are kind of locked to one direction in the world. And for the bridge it looks very weird if I used these or these. So I decided to create my own. I quickly built this train station, but it's just for experimental purposes for now. This pathway is going to go downhill over here. I'm going to add some more rocks around here. And when you are going down the pathway, you will enter the western village. I will probably make this pathway extend. I'll probably make this pathway extend the other way as well, and have it head into a new area behind the western area. Because my idea is to extend this western area this way and make something new behind it. So this is a nice opportunity to create a pathway like so, to enter a new area, for example. And that was it for this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button. You can always subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with the series. I'm uploading at least one episode a week. Anyways guys, thank you for watching and I hope to see you in the next episode. See ya!